Yes, the Casanovians. Yes, the Casanovians. Yes, I'm sat on the floor, so I'm currently staying with my mum for a week. Nice to get a little bit of family time in, and this is the best place that I've found, which has got decent enough internet connection and where the lighting is also passable. So I've been like rummaging around the entire apartment to try and find out like the best spot to do this stream. Hopefully the audio is good, hopefully the connection is good, and hopefully the lighting is great. So I want to do a super deep Casanovian live stream today and just give you a fuck ton of value, like a fuck ton of value. And by the end of this one, I want you to have crystal clear clarity on how to overcome, I would say, one of the most painful obstacles when learning daytime approach, which is getting ghosted. Yeah, the old William Flakespeare, where you've gone out, you've done some approaches, you've collected uh, a multitude of phone numbers, and then you ping them off, and you hear nothing. Crickets into the abyss. I think this can actually be quite frustrating. It was for me anyway. I know when I was first learning daytime approach, when I first started in 2020 in Leeds, I remember this one time actually, this one time when I went out into Leeds. It was a beautiful day. It was round about when the students came back. And I remember going out into Leeds and I did about 20 approaches in just over 2 hours. I collected between like about 7 or 8 phone numbers. And this was like one of the best sessions I'd had up to this point. I was brimming. I was like riding godly frequency. I was like, oh, I've cracked the cold approach game. My approaches were so great. These women, oh, they all want me. Oh, I've got so many dates now. I've got all these leads in my phone. I remember getting back to my grotty apartment, sending all these messages off, having a cup of green tea, and just waiting. Just waiting for Sarah, Dominica, and Guinevere to get back to me. Nothing. Nothing. I remember getting one phone number and I was using iMessage and I sent the message and it turned green. So I was like, oh, that's interesting. Sarah must not be on iMessage. And then for some reason I decided to call the phone number because I had my suspicions that it might be a fake number. But I was like, nah, Sarah would never do that. And then I remember calling the number and it was something like, the number you have called is not available or whatever. I was like, oh, absolutely heart-wrenching. I was like, Sarah, no, she's flaked. But anyway, none of them got back to me. Like all of them ghosted me. All of them flaked on me. And if you're in a similar position right now where you've gone out, you've approached, hopefully by now, after watching these streams, you've done well over 100 direct call approaches because that's what it takes to develop proficiency. Obviously, when guys work with me one-on-one, one approach is worth about 30 approaches on your own because I'm giving you feedback, I'm giving you real-time advice, I'm breaking down your body language, your conversation skills, your vibe, your tonality, all that gets taken care of. But if you've gone out, you've done 100 approaches, then you probably know Mr. William Flakespeare quite well. Yeah, and it is frustrating. I get it. It is frustrating. In fact, well, what I want to do on this stream, first of all, is I'm just going to get super tactical. So I'm just going to give you everything that I've learned on how to minimize the flakes actually happening. And then you'll be able to go out into the field with a lot more certainty and clarity and confidence. So yeah, I'm going to get super tactical. But I think just like to start off, first of all, I kind of just want to make everybody aware that the way that I perceive daytime approach is it's the most aggressive form of self-development. Yeah, sure, you can go to the gym, you can do gratitude journaling, you can do your red light therapy, you can make money, you can acquire all of the external trappings of success. But for me, daytime approach is like the final frontier of self-development. Yeah, because it allows your internal to become so bulletproof that you get to this place in your life where no matter what, you can handle it. Yeah, throw me in hell, I'll find a way to enjoy it. So I see it as the most aggressive form of self-development. I was having a conversation with one of our entourage members the other day. By the way, if you don't know what the entourage is, The entourage is it's like my private community. Yeah, it's my private community. So all of the guys who work with me in the field one on one, not only do they get one on one coaching with me, where I'm just turning decades into days. Yeah, so if they're feeling frustrated or lost or feeling as though they're banging their head against a brick wall with cold approach, they work with me. We do our immersion, and then it allows them to just skip all the guesswork, yeah, get rid of all the trial and error so they can start getting dates on demand with wife-worthy women in 90 days or less. Like that's the whole point of my coaching. It's why I make these streams, it's why I put content out there, it's why I send people emails. It's all designed to convince people that they should work with me because I get the best results in the industry, right? Nobody can compete with the results that I get. All my results are in the description, by the way, so you can see my testimonials, so you know I'm not talking out my ass. But when I was having this conversation with our entourage member, he said something that I've not actually heard before, and I thought it was very interesting. So I just wanted to share it with you, and then we'll get into how to overcome flakes, get lots of women, make yourself feel more happy internally, and get to the end of your life thinking, fuck yes, I ain't gonna die with my music still inside of me. I wanted to know about this guy's motivation for actually getting started with daytime approach. And it was similar to mine in the sense that he'd always felt as though he was settling. He always felt as though his relationships were him being chosen rather than him being the chooser. He always felt as though he was destined for more. You know, historically he had settled for women rather than going after the ones that he actually wanted. And he kind of just hit a bit of a wall in his dating life. You know, he didn't want to use dating apps. He didn't want to use nightclubs. He didn't want to try and get women through his social circle. But then the deeper we dug, we realized that his motivation for actually wanting to get started with this skill, which essentially is being able to reclaim your power as a man, it went much deeper than that. And he explained to me that the reason why he wanted to get started was the moment he realized daytime approach, it wasn't him just doing it for himself, right? He was doing it for a former version of himself, right? So the former version of him that wasn't cool or charming or confident, every approach that he did was, it was like a warm hug towards that child inside of him saying, it's okay, I've got us. Yeah. And you might be the same. Like, daytime approach for you, you might not just be doing it for yourself, right? It might be for your little brother to show him what's possible. Yeah, to show him he doesn't have to go down the standard dating route of trying to strategically get women through his social circle. You might be doing it for your future family. Yeah, for the mother of your children who you haven't met yet. I know for me, a big emotional pull when I'm out there in the field, and let's say my mind is trying to stop me from approaching a girl because, oh, it wants to keep me safe. I always think to myself, what would my children think of me? Like, I don't have children at the moment, but it's just kind of like a little thought experiment that I do, where it's like, what would my son or what would my daughter think of me if they knew I was pussying out of this approach? Yeah, so maybe you do have children at the moment. That can be quite a nice mental reframe to think through. Like, whenever you're faced with difficult situations, it might be a difficult conversation with a family member, it might be starting that business, it might be asking for that promotion, it might be approaching that beautiful woman. It's like, if I don't do this, I'm basically saying to my family that I'm a pussy, right? And another one of my motivations as well was, I talk about it a lot on these streams, like the great sedation. Yeah, if you look around right now, every ad that you see, every app that you scroll, every excuse that, I think the connection might have gone there. Every time you don't go over and you don't approach that woman, you are effectively saying to society, I'm happy to be a programmable pawn in a society that wants to keep me static. Yeah. So the reason why I'm saying all this is because when you're out there in the field and you are struggling and you do feel anxious, I think recognizing we're not just doing it for ourselves, right? This is so much greater than approaching women during the day. So the motivation that's always got me is, yeah, this is a two middle finger salute to a society that wants to keep me shackled. Yeah, so I thought that was really interesting. So anyway, let's talk about how to stop getting ghosted. Now that we know that the motivations go a lot deeper than just chatting to women, now that we know that it's normal, especially at the start, to have a lot of phone numbers that don't lead anywhere, let's get tactical. So when I said before about, oh, I went out, I had lots of interactions and they didn't really go anywhere, I had to face the cold, hard truth that my approaches were just shit, right? And it can be quite difficult to swallow this at the start, but as soon as I started getting serious about daytime approach, and when I say getting serious, when I had all of those approaches, up to that point, I hadn't started recording the audio of any of these conversations, right? So I didn't know what I didn't know. So the biggest shift for me happened when I started getting feedback. So first of all, I gave myself feedback, right? So I went out into Leeds, I went to Manchester, Liverpool, Edinburgh, Glasgow, York, Cambridge. I went all over the place because when I started Daytime Approach, it was during the pandemic, so international travel was a little bit difficult. So I would go out and I would record the audio of my conversations. And this was like having a mirror held up to me because up to this point, I didn't have any form of feedback. I didn't have any reference experience. And this is probably the biggest reason why guys don't get any results like dates or magical experiences with beautiful women is because they're shooting in the dark, right? It's like trying to aim at a constantly moving target. It's like practicing bad form at a gym, right? All you're going to do is get shit at the wrong thing. It's not about 10,000 hours. It's about 10,000 iterations, right? So this is why you need feedback. And if for whatever reason you can't afford coaching at the moment, or maybe you're resistant to send money over to strangers on the internet, like I've been in that position. Like I've spent over $100,000 now on my own self-education. So I understand that the resistance can be quite fierce at the start, but just start recording the audio of your conversations. It's the easiest way to make progress because at the moment you might think you're having great conversations, but you have to look at the evidence. You have to look at the data. Like how many dates have you been on from cold approach in the past 4 weeks? Like just be honest with yourself. There's no shame on my part. I sucked at this skill for so long. That's why I make these streams as well, just to try and normalize the whole process, right? I was a porn addict. Rectile dysfunction, £24.82 of universal credit. I used to suck with women. No woman wanted me, right? I was living in that grotty apartment, working a dead-end job for minimum wage. Like, I'm no different to you, right? I think the only thing that separates me from a lot of guys who try this stuff is I actually took the necessary steps. So getting feedback, getting coached, actually getting coached in this space. That's a big one as well. But get feedback, right? Record the audio, listen into your conversations. Like, what are you doing wrong? Maybe you're talking too fast. Maybe your conversations never go past that platonic chit chat. Maybe you give off this gay best friend type of vibe that I used to give off. Maybe your conversations are not lasting long enough. Yeah, this is a big reason why girls flake is because you didn't build any emotional investment. And I find between 6 and 8 minutes is the sweet spot, right? So even if you don't listen to the tonality or anything in the conversations, just listen to how long the conversations are lasting for. Because when I was going out and I was first learning this stuff, and when I was getting flaked on by thousands of women, the biggest realization I had was, oh wow, these are more, it's like spam approaching. Just going over, giving a compliment, like a half-assed compliment. That's a big one as well. Like, if you are going to go over to women, like actually make them feel your desire. So get rid of the lukewarm compliments. Like, oh, you look nice. You look kind of cute. Oh, yeah, I just saw you. Oh, you look intriguing. It's like, get rid of that bullshit. Just be like, excuse me, you look incredible. You look stunning. You look so good. And I would have regretted not coming over here. And then listening to the audio, and then in the conversation itself, what I found is really useful as well to move the needle is actually talking about the details of the date during the conversation, right? So don't do what I used to do, which was this super vague, almost apologetic afterthought of a close, which is like, oh, give me a number, we'll go for a drink sometime, yay, hip hip hooray. Like actually get specific on where you want to take this woman. Yeah, so like what time, what venue, what does she need to wear? And then once you've collected this data, that's what the texting is for, right? The texting is simply a vehicle to bring that woman out on a date. And more than that, it's also a reminder as well of the thing that you already spoke about. Yeah, so in my experience, people are less likely to bail on plans that they've already committed to. So imagine you say to your mate, Jeff, "Oi, Jeff, we're going to go down the Dog and Duck this Saturday at 7. Yeah, come along." And if Jeff's like, "Yeah, mate, I'll be there." Now Jeff he's emotionally committed. He's made a verbal contract. And if he doesn't show up, he kind of feels like a bad guy, right? So you want to be getting as much commitment as possible during that initial cold approach conversation. Easiest way to do it is talk about the date. And this means just having a plan before you go out there. Yeah, a lot of guys are cold approaching like accidents and they wonder why no woman wants to go on a date with them. It's because, you need to have a plan. Like, where are you going to take this woman? Yeah, what does she need to wear? What time? Yeah, like, oh, for example, listen, I'd love to continue this conversation, but I need to take care of a goat and a tuk-tuk. So, next Saturday, what I want to do is I want to take you to my favorite wine bar in London. It's called Gordon's Wine Bar. All right, now listen, this is what I need you to do. I need you to wear your best dress, cancel all of your plans, and meet me outside the venue at 6:57 p.m. Right, don't be late. And then the texting can simply be a reminder of that, like, "Hey, great to meet you. Sorry, I had to take care of the goat and the tuk-tuk. Meet me, Gordon's Wine Bar, 6:57 p.m. Wear your best dress, haha." I go into detail, by the way, like conversation skills. I've got a free course, it's called Conversation Killer, that teaches you how to have the sort of conversations that make women actually want to see you again. I've also got a 10-hour free course on YouTube as well, which teaches you about texting. Everything is available. Like, I give away information and I charge money for implementation, right? So all the information you could possibly need is on this channel. So just go through the videos. There's just type in like Kristian Kasanova 10-hour course, or go to the bottom of this description and gobble up my free courses, right? It's all there for you. So get an audio reference, right? Find out what you're shit at. And then the second thing that I want to speak about on this one is to stop girls, stop ghosting or flaking or whatever terminology you want to use. You want to do something that I call soul sparking, okay? Soul sparking, which is the biggest reason, or one of the biggest reasons that I've found why women will flake is because they didn't feel anything during that initial conversation. And one of the biggest realizations I had was the right women will not flake. Yeah, the right women will not ghost you. And this is where I differ a lot compared to this weird old school marketing, which was like, oh, you can have any woman. Yeah, this bullshit marketing, which was peddled in 2008. Like, oh, you can get any woman. 5 easy ways to get any woman into bed. This is a complete fallacy, right? You can't get any woman, but what you can get is your women. And that's the whole point of this game, right? The whole point of this game is not to be everything to everybody, but to be a somebody for the right somebody. So when I'm going out there to cold approach, and the way that I teach my clients when I'm working with them one-on-one is, we're not going out there to convince the maybe girls. Yeah, we're not going out there to try and game the girls who've got no interest whatsoever in buying our product, right? We're going out there to find our fuck yeses, the women who just like us, right? The women who just light up as soon as we approach. These are the women that we're out there for, and these women won't flake, right? As long as you get that initial conversation on point, right? So again, I go over how to actually do this in the free course, Conversation Killer, go watch that. But once you've built that investment, once you've approached with conviction, once you've carried the conversation, you've detailed the plans of the date during that convo, and she's one of your women, then this is the game right here. Yeah, so if you've gone out and you've got a lot of phone numbers that didn't lead anywhere, sure, your conversations might be shit, and that's why you need a point of reference. But you might just be attracting the wrong women. Yeah, you might just not have found your women. And location is huge for this as well. Yeah, like my best results came when I left Leeds. Yeah, especially when I left the UK. I remember going over to Krakow in 2022. So I left my 9-to-5 job. I went over to Krakow, and going over there, I felt like a kid in a sweet store. I was like, whoa, I'm getting way more dates consistently than I ever did back in the UK. So it could be your location. You might just not be finding your women. One sec, I'm just gonna get my move location. There we go. I was sat on my foot. I could feel the blood starting to decrease like a dehydrated porpoise. So soul sparking, like actually making the woman feel something during the conversation. I've got another video on this as well. Just type in Kristian Kasanova, soul sparking. And that's huge, because if you've got the intention of going out there to find your women, and you'll know your women, like as soon as you go over, they're going to light up, maybe their pupils dilate, maybe they're giggling, maybe they're playing with their hair, then these are the women that you want to focus your attention on. And I think one of the biggest mistakes that I made when I was first learning the skill was I was trying to be universally attractive. Yeah, I was almost forcing myself to approach women who I wasn't really into, but I thought maybe I could get her. Does that make sense? I don't know if you've ever been in that stage before, where it's like you see a woman and it's like, she's not really my type, but maybe I'll be able to get her, right? So rather than going after the women that really lit a fire in my soul, I would kind of be going after these girls that maybe I was okay. And maybe girls usually lead to maybe results, right? So soul sparking, finding your women, yeah? Not trying to be everything to everybody, trying to be a somebody for the right somebody. And also that means just getting clear on the type of woman that you're looking for. You know, like, who is she? What does she look like? What are her values? What sort of childhood did she have? What is her relationship like with her parents? Like, the more specific you can get, then it makes it easier to filter for the women when you're out there approaching. So yeah, record the audio of your conversations. Focus on the fuck yeses, right? If you focus on the fuck yeses, cold approach will become more efficient. You're not wasting your time banging your head against a brick wall. You're focused on your women. And then when you find your women, you double down on these women and you get super specific about where you want to take them. The next thing is to create a compelling Instagram profile. So another big reason why women flake is a lack of social proof. Yeah. And this is something where I think a lot of guys who are still following outdated cold approach advice, this is where they fall flat, right? Because a lot of guys, they ask the question, does cold approach still work? Like, is it still possible? Like, is it still possible to meet women through daytime cold approach? And it is still possible, but only if you have developed yourself to fit in with the modern game. Yeah, like, cold approach is no longer possible if you're still following outdated advice, right? It's not possible if you're still trying to pretend to be something that you're not. It's not possible if you're still trying to do what worked in 2018, right? The game has changed. So we need to adapt. And one of the easiest ways to adapt, which I know a lot of guys are still resistant about, but it literally makes no sense. You're literally leaving money on the table by not doing this. Is by building a compelling Instagram profile, right? Instagram completely changed the dating game. And if you're still one of those guys who's like, oh, but I'm more of a private person, or oh, I don't want to build that, oh, it's going to take too long, then it says to me a refusal to go all in with this skill. Because I would say, the most lethal combination that you can have in the modern dating game is becoming exceptional at the skill of daytime approach whilst having a compelling Instagram profile. Because what the profile does is it does a lot of the heavy lifting on your behalf. So you can actually have pretty mediocre conversations, but if you've got a great Instagram profile, then it will do the heavy lifting on your behalf. Probably the easiest example I've got with this is Genki. So hopefully you've seen the videos that I made with Genki, the Japanese guy that I was coaching in London. Genki has got an incredible Instagram, right? He's living an international lifestyle. He just went to Cannes in France. He's built and put the reps in to build a enticing social media presence. So he can get away with having not the greatest cold approach conversations, but because he's using Instagram as a landing page, what this means is girls can go over to his profile and get more invested without him even needing to do anything else. It's kind of like passive income, right? The profile does a lot of the work on your behalf. So imagine this, right? Imagine you've gone over to a girl and you've had a mediocre conversation, and let's say you've taken her phone number. She doesn't have any context about who you are. Sure, you can say in the conversation, oh, I travel, I have an international lifestyle, I used to be a magician. Like all of that stuff is fine. But for me, evidence has got the loudest voice. Yeah. So if you've got a profile which has evidence, which has proof that you are the person who you say you are, it helps to solidify the connection. And also it conveys a message, this guy is safe, right? This is one of the biggest reasons why girls will flake on you, is because they don't feel safe, right? They don't have any context about who you are outside of the cold approach conversation. So yeah, you could be charming. Yeah, you could be witty. Yeah, you could say all of these amazing things. But if she's got no evidence of you being this guy, then you're kind of just a random dude on the street. I'm not saying you can't get results without having an Instagram. You can. Yeah, sometimes taking the phone number is actually the better alternative. It's a nuanced game. I think this is where a lot of guys get stuck because they think it's binary. Oh, it's either this or this. I either take number or I take Instagram. It's black or white. It's one or two. And it's like, no, cold approach exists on a spectrum, right? Sometimes it can be this. Other times it can be this. For example, if I'm speaking with a girl and I go for her phone number, but then she intercepts and says, oh, you can have my Instagram instead, then I take this as a polite rejection, right? But if I'm the one to lead with the decision to go for an Instagram, then this can work better. So it depends, yeah? And this is why you need feedback. This is why you need to have a point of reference, because if you're listening back to one of your conversations and you went for a phone number, but the girl was like, let's go for Instagram, and then you fell into her frame and went for the Instagram and you never heard from her again, then that's where you lost, right? So having a compelling Instagram, again, in my 10-hour free course, I teach you step by step how to build one. You can also just type in Kristian Kasanova Instagram. I've got a full free guide on how to actually do this. I do think if you're going to get involved with daytime approach in the modern game and you don't have a compelling Instagram, then you are missing out on a big chunk of it, and you will encounter more flakes than guys who've actually built one. So again, there's a video on how to do it. Go watch that. The next thing about flakes really is radical acceptance. Yeah, like getting flaked on or getting ghosted, it is just a part of the game, right? And I think one of the best things that I've got through learning daytime approach is it's made me more of a emotionally resilient human being. Yeah, I remember before I got started with daytime approach, I used to be very emotional, right? Everything that happened, it was always, oh, why me? Why this? Yeah, I was a classic victim. But through daytime approach, and again, this is why I believe it's the most aggressive form of self-development. It's like bicep curls for the brain, yeah? Because it forces you to go on this journey that few men are prepared to embark upon. Yeah, because it's going to test you. You're going to have massive highs and massive lows. You're going to have moments, weeks, months, where you doubt yourself, where you're wondering, is this working? Where you're thinking, am I even going to get through? Like, am I even going to be able to make this work? And I had all of that. Like, when I started, like, I was the lowest of the low, where I was a complete loser. I was broke as a joke. And I went on this journey because I knew that I wanted more. And also, I didn't see an alternative either. Like, I started during the pandemic. There was no nightclubs. I didn't have any friends. Dating apps were oversaturated. And I just felt this pull. You know, I just felt this call to action. I was like, yeah, this isn't just about me going over to women. This is about me finally breaking free of all the bullshit that I fed myself. Because I always knew I was capable of more, but I'd always settled, I'd always played it safe, I'd always just like pampered myself in mediocrity. So having acceptance that, yeah, it just is. Yeah, like Shakespeare said, nothing is good nor bad, it's the thinking that makes it so. So if you've gone out and you've done 50 approaches this week and every single woman has flaked on you, first of all, take radical responsibility for it. There are probably things that you could fix. Download Conversation Killer, watch my 10-hour free course, watch this live stream back a couple of times so you actually know, right, I need to work on this. I need to stop talking so fast. I need to have longer conversations. I need to talk about the details of the date during the convo. I need to build a compelling Instagram. So there are things that you can fix. But there's also factors which are working against you, right? I believe right now we are living in an attention recession, meaning, and I think this is where a lot of dating advice online falls short, because a lot of dating advice will say the same old thing, which is women have got more options than ever before, right? The what is it they say? The sexual marketplace is so competitive right now. This kind of like stuff, right? Which, okay, I accept that. But I think a more nuanced angle that not a lot of people focus on is we just have more options now than we've ever had at any point in humanity. Not just women, but people in general. Oh, I'm bored. Netflix. Oh, I'm hungry. Uber Eats. Oh, I'm horny. Porn. Right? So we live in this attention recession where people's attention spans now are scientifically worse than goldfish, right? So in this attention recession, I do think flakes or ghosting, or there's another one which is like zombieing, where a girl ignores you for a couple of months and comes back from the dead. I think all of this is more of a symptom of modern society where people have just got more things to do, right? You're not just competing against other guys, you're competing against Netflix, you're competing against Kylie Jenner's latest product, you're competing against her family's vacation to Guatemala. It's like there's so many different things that you're working against that I think you almost just have to have. And I think it's called the Stockdale paradox, which is really interesting. So there's a book which is called From Good to Great, and in that book, the author talks about the Stockdale paradox. And the Stockdale paradox is something which, if you internalize it, it will make daytime approach and also most other things in life that you're struggling with a lot more digestible. And the Stockdale paradox essentially, it's having unwavering faith while still maintaining an element of realism, right? So the Stockdale paradox is having unwavering faith that with enough reps, with the right systems, with the right guidance, you will get to where you want to get to. But it's also being grounded in realism as well, which is to say, okay, I've got unwavering faith that I can achieve my goal, but also I need to face the harsh reality that maybe I'm shit right now. Maybe I don't look the part. Maybe I need to get my money up. Maybe I do need to raise my value, because all daytime approach is delivering the value that you've built to the world, right? So if you're currently going out there and you look like I used to look, right? If you look like a fucking turnip, if your social skills are shit, if you're dressing like a pauper with a fucking Slazenger tracksuit and a pair of Crocs, then, you need to get the basics in check. And I think a big issue with guys is you've never actually had anybody sit down with you and just give you honest feedback. Like, just give you brutally honest, no bullshit feedback about what it is that you actually need to do, like the exact steps that you need to take. Yeah, because if you've not had any feedback on your unique situation, then you end up just walking around repeating the same shit. And again, it's not 10,000 hours, it's 10,000 iterations. So having an acceptance with the modern game, right? It just is, but not losing faith because of it. Right, I accept right now that women do have a lot of options. I accept right now that the world, we're living in this attention recession and people are more distracted than ever before. Like, accepting all of that, facing the reality of it, then also controlling what you can control, which is your external, which is your internal, which is the technical side of things. So the actual, like getting the actual cold approach playbook, but just having acceptance, right? And I think this is how I can tell somebody who has not yet got to I would call it an elite level with daytime approach. It's where they're still getting emotional over human nature, right? Because once you've come to terms with human nature and you can just see the world for how it is rather than how you want it to be, that's when the game changes for you, right? Because if you can understand, nobody gives a flying fuck about you, right? No woman is going to love you unconditionally like your mum. If you can understand that we're all animals responding to incentives, right? Everybody just wants the best deal for themselves. All is fair in love and war. It will stop you being so emotional, right? So if I'm working with a guy and he's got 10 phone numbers on his first day of coaching, the first thing I'll say is, that's awesome, dude, but they're probably all going to flake. Now, that might seem brutal. That might seem ruthless, but what I want to do is I want to initiate the guy into reality, because what can often happen with guys, especially when you're doing this on your own, is you fall in love with phone numbers, right? You're collecting phone numbers like trophies, and you think, oh my God, this is so sacred. Oh my God, I'm finally making progress. And like that can be good. But really when I'm working with guys, because I want my guys to get to elite level call approach skills. And call approach skills doesn't just mean what you do, right? It's not what you say, it's not how you say it, it's who you are when you say it. So having this expectation that, okay, it just is. Yeah, it just is. Oh, I've got a phone number. Yeah, whatever. It's kind of like a beginner to sales. Like a beginner to sales will celebrate the sale before he's made it. Right? You don't want to celebrate the sale until that money has hit your bank account. And one of the exercises that I've done almost accidentally to help me stop being so emotional and stop almost falling in love with a future that I've not experienced yet is when I go out to film infield content, right? So when I go out to film infield content, what I've done historically is I don't contact any of the women who are on the footage, right? So when I'm out there to film, it's purely business. And Daniel, the guy who films my footage, he can attest to this as well. As soon as I get phone numbers when we're filming, I delete them straight away, right? Gone into the ether, never to communicate with them again. And what I've noticed, and this has happened by accident as well, is it's made me way less emotional, like way less emotionally invested in women who I've just met. So this is like a little potential exercise for you. I would say this is more if you're like at an intermediate, advanced level and you feel as though maybe you've hit a plateau or the game's getting a little bit boring or yeah, you just kind of lost a little bit of love for the game. Dedicate a day this week, go out into your city, go out for about 2 hours, either, make a session of it and set the intention to delete every single phone number that you get, right? And again, this is not for beginners, this is not for the faint of heart. This is the guys who want to get to almost like an inhuman level with daytime approach, because I think one of the biggest factors when learning this skill is the emotional regulation, right? Actually being able to maintain a level of homeostasis, like not getting too carried away in either emotion, right? So if it's going good, okay, it'll go shit soon. If it's going shit, okay, it'll go good soon. I call it memento mori, like remember one day you will die. It's like remember one day this will end, right? Momentum doesn't last forever. So if you can go out and you have a session and you just say to yourself, I'm going to delete every single phone number that I get, even if you meet the girl of your dreams, right? I've met women, like amazing wife-worthy women when I've been filming who I could easily get in contact with, hit up for dates. Like they were my fuck yeses. But because I already know when I'm going out there, I'm not there to collect phone numbers. I'm not there to go on dates. I'm not there to get happy endings. I'm there for the content and I don't want to mix business with pleasure, right? So what that's done is it's given me this super abundant feeling where phone numbers don't really mean anything to me anymore. Not in this like cold, well, no, I guess it is. It is like a cold-hearted way of doing things, but it fucking works because it just means that I'm not emotionally attached to women or to phone numbers. It's like, right, got a phone number, delete, delete, delete. I call this, I would call it inferno mode, where you're just going out there to burn the fucking boats, right? You're just all in with it. You delete the phone numbers. I think if you can do that, then getting flaked on won't feel like this emotionally tumultuous event anymore, right? Because essentially I'm flaking on every single woman that I approach, right? Like when I'm filming, I'm flaking on all of them, right? Even if they're expecting this extravagant date, even if they're thinking, oh, this was an amazing conversation, I can't wait to see this guy again, like I'm not getting in contact with them. Right. And again, if you might still be in this like weird blue pill Disneyfication, like, oh, that's not nice, oh, that's not fair. Like it just is, again, right? Nothing is good nor bad. It's the thinking that makes it so. But if you're like an emotional person right now, and if you're getting attached to phone numbers, to women, to dates, whatever, just start going out and just delete all the phone numbers. It could just be one session where you do it. And it feels great because it puts you in the position of the selector rather than the selected, right? You've seen the woman, you've gone over, you've had a conversation, you've taken a phone number, and then you don't contact her. We've had this actually in the entourage. So we've had guys in the entourage who, after working with me, they had like women or a woman in their life, right? So they've got a woman in their life at the moment, and then what they were doing, because my advice to guys, especially the guys who work with me one-on-one, is for the first year of learning daytime approach, stay single, okay? Because it's important that you prioritize the skill over the woman, okay? Now, you might get into a situationship with a woman that you've met, but even if you've got a primary woman who you're enjoying life with, it's important that you continue to exercise the skill set. And this is what one of our guys did. He met a wife-worthy woman, a woman who ticked all of his boxes, and they were having magical experiences together. But he was continuing to cold approach on the side. He was continuing to exercise the skill on the side because he understood it was important for him not to slip back into that scarcity mindset, pedestalizing her, pinning his entire sense of self-worth on one woman. He understood he needed to continue being the version of himself that this woman fell for in the first place. In order to do that, he needed to continue practicing the skill. I remember on one of our weekly group calls, he was like, yeah, guys, today I went out, I closed this other absolute worldie. I never even messaged her because I've got this great woman here with me. But what that showed him was he didn't have to continue to be thirsty, right? He could go out, he could get phone numbers. He didn't even need to pursue these phone numbers because he was now living in this abundant mentality. And abundance is not always having, it's knowing you can have, right? I say this on pretty much every stream because there's a lot of guys who are new to my streams. I'm just going to say it one more time because if you understand this, it's going to set you apart from 99% of guys on the planet, not just guys who cold approach. Abundance is not always having, it's knowing you can have, right? Imagine the guy who wins the lottery and then loses everything, right? He will get depressed because his fortune was based off of blind luck. But you imagine the self-made millionaire who built his fortune from the ground up, who came from nothing. If he loses his cash, he doesn't get super depressed because he knows he's acquired the skills to make that money back, right? He has become the version of himself who can reacquire the funds, right? And that's why this game is a game of identity. It's becoming the version of yourself who is abundant, who is unshakable. It doesn't mean that you become completely closed off emotionally. Like, sure, if a relationship ends, you'll be sad about it. You will grieve the loss of that relationship, but you won't do what most guys do on this planet and get depressed and start drinking yourself silly and start listening to fucking Bruno Mars songs in the shower. You'll be like, all right, that happened, but I've got this top 1% skill of daytime approach. So all I need to do now is brush myself off, go outside, talk to some more women, and realize there is an abundance of beautiful women, right? There is no such thing as the one. I do believe in the notion of soulmates. I believe that there are women who've been put on this earth specifically for us. It's our job to find these women. This is why I say, go out and find your fuck yeses. But I think a big reason why guys struggle in the game of relationships, and I see this a lot in my comments. There was a guy who commented on one of my videos the other day and he was like, oh, Kristian, I noticed in this approach, you complimented this woman about 10 times. Surely this is needy. Surely this is low value. And look, I do understand where these comments are coming from, but you need to understand the lens of which you're seeing the world, right? Most guys are operating from scarcity. Most guys are not in abundance. They are operating in a perceived sense of loss. In other words, if I do this thing, then I might lose value in the eyes of a woman, right? And the whole point of this game, if I can boil down my entire philosophy into one digestible paragraph of copy, it would be the way you win is through abundance, right? Because every decision you make from a place of abundance, it will always work in your favor. So you imagine a guy who's got more options than he knows what to do with, or a guy who's got more money than he knows what to do with. The person who has the most cares the least. The person who's most prepared to walk away has all the power. So when your cup is so full that all you want to do is give, it doesn't matter what you do anymore because your actions are operating from a place of wholeness rather than lack, meaning that when you are abundant, right? So you imagine you've got 10 beautiful women in your phone who are desperate to see you. Just imagine how carefree, how non-needy, how detached from outcome that would make you. Like, you wouldn't give a flying fuck about complimenting a woman 20 times. If you wanted to message a woman 2 seconds after getting a phone number, you'd do it. If you wanted to hold the door open for a woman, you'd do it. If you wanted to compliment every single woman that you saw, like, it doesn't matter because you're operating from abundance. But the reason why most guys are losing is because they're suffocating in scarcity. It's, oh, if I say this thing, I might lose, right? And that's not sexy. And I spent the majority of my life being in scarcity, like constantly second guessing myself, constantly scared of rocking the boat, saying the wrong thing. Oh, if I do this thing, I might lose this girl. And that's rooted in my childhood as well. Yeah, my mum's got a lot of mental health issues. I almost learnt game accidentally growing up because I was brought up in a single parent household. My mum was working multiple jobs so she could support us, and she struggled a lot. And because of that, I often got the emotional brunt of her emotions, yeah? So I had to learn game accidentally. I learned how to say things in a certain way. I learned to read the room. I learned to read energy. I learned not to say this certain thing at a certain time, otherwise I might piss her off and then get into trouble, right? So I learned that accidentally, but what that gave me was a fear of the feminine. This is where a lot of guys are at right now, where you've got a fear of women and you don't even realize it. So that's why your actions are in scarcity. If this is you, by the way, I've got another course which is called My Most Fuckable Man course. And that course basically teaches you how to become a new person. Like, I lay out the exact roadmap that I used to become a completely different person. So if you want to overcome all your self-limiting beliefs, if you want to finally become the version of yourself who is abundant, who's no longer suffocating in scarcity, download that course. It's an absolute banger. It's completely free. Access the module which is titled Mindset Mastery, because that will give you the exact roadmap that I use to rewire my entire internal belief system. So whilst we're on this topic of abundance and feeling abundant, by the way, if you're watching this stream, drop it a like. First of all, because it gives me a nice spike of dopamine. Also, it just tells me that the connection is good as well. So hopefully people can hear me and I'm not just talking out my ass. I'll take a sip of coffee whilst you're doing that, because we've got a lot more to get through. So yeah, if you're enjoying the stream, just drop it a like. Makes me feel nice, and also it confirms that you can still hear me, which is nice. God, I feel like I've been talking for about 5 hours here. Hopefully the things that I've been saying have made sense. I always get a bit self-conscious on these streams that I'm not really doing it good. But hopefully you're enjoying it anyway. I'm a very insecure person. Okay, the other thing that I wanted to speak about, I've not heard too many people speak about this, and I think this is really interesting. So let's say you've gone out and you've done some approaches, and let's say you've just got a beautiful girl's phone number, right? You might want to write this down as well, because it's going to change the way you approach the game from an energetic standpoint. What I've found to be true in my own cold approach career, and also having coached over 200 guys in the field one-on-one, what I've noticed is the state in which you send a message, whether it's a WhatsApp message or an Instagram DM, the state that you're in, like the emotional state that you're in, actually matters. So what I've found is, if I've left the text message too long, right? So let's say I meet a girl at 2 p.m. on a Saturday, and let's say I don't message her until, I don't know, 10 a.m. the following day. And let's say at 10 a.m. the following day, I'm not feeling that great. Maybe I feel a little bit sluggish. Maybe I'm not feeling super abundant. Maybe I'm feeling slightly needy when I'm sending that message. The emotional state that I'm in when I send a text message, I am convinced it's conveyed on the other side of the phone. So what I teach to my guys when I'm working with them one-on-one, what I teach them inside the entourage is only text women when you're in a high emotional state, because she'll feel what you feel, right? It doesn't just apply to when you're with her in the moment. It also applies over message, right? So when it comes to texting women and setting up the date, I want you to feel as abundant as possible. So that might be, before you text that girl, it might be doing 3 more approaches to feel abundant. It might be doing a martial arts class. It might be going to the gym. It might be doing some like cold water exposure. It might be doing like a really difficult cold approach set. So maybe it's like approaching a girl in a coffee shop, a girl who's with her mum, a girl who's with her parents, a big group of girls. I've got all of these infields on this channel, by the way, like girl with parents, girl with mum, like big group of girls. I've done it all, seen it all, got the fucking t-shirt. Do something that puts you into this high emotional state. Because if you send a message to a girl when you're feeling needy or when you're hungover or when you're craving female attention or validation, then she'll usually feel this. And this is like such a nuanced, tactical reason why girls might be flaking that I've never heard anybody else talk about. But the same is true actually when you're sending emails to people. So if you're a marketer, if you're a business owner, if you're an entrepreneur, and you've got an email list at the moment, only send your emails when you're in a high emotional state, because your readers will pick up on whatever emotion you send that in, okay? So meeting women, make sure you're in this super abundant state when you send them out, like when you send the messages out, because she's gonna feel the energy. And something that I do as well, not a lot of people do it, but it's just something that I enjoy, is rather than sending typey messages, I like sending voice messages, because I found that, okay, put it this way. If you have the balls to approach a woman stone cold sober during the daytime, blow her away with your personal magnetism, your hard-hitting compliment, your godly frequency, that's audacious, right? That is like elite level audacity. But then if you follow that up by sending her a voice message, it could be a voice message on Instagram, or it could be a voice message on WhatsApp, or whatever messaging platform you're using, that is like pure balls right there. And I've spoke about this in different pieces of content. The biggest purchasing power that you have as a man in the modern day marketplace is your balls, right? Like I work with guys who are the stereotypical high value men, right? They've got the looks, they've got the money, they've got the status, they've got the watches, they've got the cars. They still can't pull a muscle. And the reason for that is they've not developed the only metric that actually matters, which is having balls, especially in front of women. Because you can have balls in your career. You could be the cutthroat CEO. You could have balls in your gym. You could be deadlifting 400 kg. You could have balls in, what else could you have balls in? I don't know, fucking World of Warcraft. You could be like #1 World of Warcraft player. But the only metric that matters is, do you have balls when you're in set? And this is what a German friend of mine once told me. He said, Kristian, never judge a man until you've seen him in set. And I've seen that to be true so many times. Like I've got guys who are crushing it in their career, crushing it financially. They look the part, they dress the part. But when you put them in front of a beautiful woman, they crumble. Right? So what that says to me is there is an imbalance there. What that says to me is their internal hasn't caught up with their external. They still feel like the ugly duckling on the inside. And this is why this is an internal game that we're playing. I think a lot of guys don't understand this. This is why most coaches in this space, it's why their coaching doesn't work, because they focus purely on technicalities. Say this, stand like that, posture in this way. And yeah, the technical side of game, it is important, but the most important part is the internal, like how you feel within, right? Because internal state equals external reality. So maybe right now you're somebody and you've got all of the basics in check. Maybe you're doing well financially. Maybe you do look good. Maybe you do have solid social skills. And you're going out there and you feel as though you're banging your head against a brick wall. You feel as though nothing seems to click. You're doing laps in your head thinking, is it this? Do I need more money? Do I need to get a bigger chest? Do I need to improve my fashion? You might do, but you might just be in a place where you just don't like yourself internally. And that shows in your conversations. And it's such a subtle killer of success with women that it's taken me years to work this out by working with lots of successful men, that it's not just about your looks, your money, your status. Yes, these things do matter. Of course, build your value as much as possible. But the glue that ties it all together is your balls, is your character, right? So again, get my Most Fuckable Man course. Look at my 10-hour free course. I've got another one which is like cold approach inner game mastery. just type in like Kristian Kasanova free course or some shit. I've got everything. Everything's available online. You don't even need to watch any of the fucking day game channels. Like, it's all here. It's all for free. You can go watch everything. But it's the internal side of things. So if you're in a low emotional state when you're messaging women, don't message that girl, right? So if you're feeling needy, if you're feeling depressed, if you're feeling hungover and it's not an optimal emotional state, do something. Like, get off your ass, do some approaches, just do something that puts you into a high emotional state. And then when I send voice messages, the energy that I'm sending those voice messages in, you can clearly hear it. It's like it's conveyed through my tonality, through my energy, through my cadence and rhythm of the speech. In the 10-hour free course, I walk you through how to actually send voice messages. Because I know a lot of guys are resistant to voice messaging. But inside the entourage, we have a private WhatsApp group, and what I've noticed is guys are getting more comfortable sending voice messages in that group now. So let's say our guys are out there in the field and they feel like, oh shit, I don't have any wings with me right now. The WhatsApp group is like having wingmen in your pocket, right? So our guys are out there in the field, they'll just send voice messages through to the group. This gets their vocal cords firing. Oftentimes, when you're going out there to cold approach, that girl is the first person you've spoke to that day. So you need like 3 or 4 of those just to warm up. But imagine if before you approach that girl, you've already sent 3 or 4 voice messages out, maybe to other girls or maybe to guys in your WhatsApp group or just another friend. So sending voice messages or getting into the habit of sending voice messages, you become what you practice. And then when it comes time to voice message that girl, then it'll feel a lot more natural. So, we covered a lot of ground right there. I've still got a few more things I want to talk about, but yeah, being in the right emotional state before you message the girl, so important. Getting yourself warmed up energetically, emotionally, spiritually, before you start conversing. What else did I have written down? I've got like a little list here. Said that. Oh, one more, or 2 more. Another thing that helped me, especially in the early days, because I remember getting to a point where girls just like, they kept ghosting me, they kept flaking on me. There's different levels of flakes as well. Like, you can get flaked on after getting the initial number, or you can have it where the girl is messaging you for a couple of texts, then she just vanishes. Or you could actually have a date set up with a girl, and then she just doesn't turn up to the date. That's a kick in the bollocks. That happened to me in Leeds once with a girl called Janet from Devon. I was so buzzed off this approach. Like, I remember basically how this approach turned out was I left my phone at home one day in Leeds, and I did my usual walk from my grotty apartment up to Hyde Park, up the hill towards the university. If you know, you know. I called that Hustle Hill. I did so many approaches on that hill. Anyway, I saw this absolute beauty walking towards me. I stopped her head on because, well, it felt easier in the moment. Anyway, we had a great conversation. I didn't have my phone on me, so I got her to message me. That's actually a great thing as well, just to intercept myself there. That's actually a great move. Like, if you're speaking with a girl, I actually have come to realize now that a more abundant way of closing is not always necessarily taking their number, but actually giving them your number, right? This is actually really powerful because it shows a lack of attachment. Yeah. So like the thing that I teach, and I think what most coaches teach is, right, get her contact details, because then that gives you the power, right? Then you can message her, which I accept. But like, just like as a fun thought experiment, you can also go out and, before I was saying, right, just delete all phone numbers. That's actually a great exercise. But another one could be go out without your phone and get the women to message you. So just be like, when it comes to taking the contact details, you could literally just say something like, listen, I've really enjoyed getting to know you. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to give you my phone number, and then whenever you want to come out, just message me. If not, no problem. And that is like a refreshing move of non-neediness, because what you're saying is, I want you, but I don't need you, right? I don't need to be texting you. I don't need to be taking the risk of you flaking on me. Like, I'll give you my phone number, and then if you're serious, message me. If not, no problem, right? It's kind of like Bumble in real life. That's what it is. I've just had that epiphanova now. It's Bumble in real life, where the girl gets to make the first move over message, but you've been the one to initiate, and then you put the power in her hands. Like, that is so powerful. So powerful. I think if you take one thing away from this stream, let that be it. Like, let her message you first. Then you've got Bumble operating in real life, because if she then gets in contact with you, that phone number's solid, right? So that is literally Bumble in real life. Fuck me, that's awesome. Anyway, I was speaking with Janet, and I was like, listen, I don't have my phone on me, it's charging back at home, but message me. So we bid sayonara. I walked up to Hyde Park, probably did a few more approaches, and then got back to my place, checked my phone, and I had a message from Janet. And we had like really good back and forth. Like it was pinging, it was going amazing. And then, because it was during the pandemic, there wasn't really any good bars open. Anyway, I proposed that we meet in a park, which in hindsight was not the best move. But anyway, I was just doing the best with the information I had. Anyway, she never showed up to the date. And I was absolutely gutted. Like, I was so sad because I was like, oh, there's like chemistry there. She definitely was one of my girls. That kind of like pops the theory from before where like the right women won't flip. But it was my fault. Like, it was my fault. Like, I don't think I designed a good enough date. I was like, oh, let's just meet in the park and have a few beers. Do you know what I mean? I think she was probably expecting something a bit better than that. So I take personal responsibility for that. I think the right women won't flake as long as you don't give them a reason to. That's actually a good statement. The right women won't flake as long as you don't fuck it up. I definitely, dude, like I've fucked up so many approaches. Like I've fucked up so many times with so many women. And I think that's why when I'm speaking to you on these streams, I'm not speaking to you as a guru. I'm still a work in progress as well, by the way. Like I still make mistakes all the time. That's why I post my rejection reels. That's why I post videos of me in the field that people can break down and just like, right, this is shit, that shit. I'm like, yeah, I take all the feedback on board. My ego's not as high as it used to be. So I do read all the comments, and I do take serious feedback from the things that people say, even if it is like a troll comment, like even if it is a comment which is designed, yeah, even if it's like a troll comment, I still take a lot of feedback because I think that's the best way to operate in life. Not almost like I think the way that I operate is that I'm like, right, I've got to a good level, but I know there's still more reps to do. So it's like, I think YouTube is a great microcosm for feedback because people will just hide behind anonymous profiles and they'll just say what they want. I actually think that's useful because it means that the troll comments will tell me what I need to know rather than what I want to hear. And it's rare that I can find that. So it's useful. Sorry as well if the connection is cut out during this stream. I did try and foreshadow it before it happened. But anyway, yeah, I think, that's just nice though. Like in terms of getting them to contact you, that's fucking awesome. Another thing you can do as well is just leave your phone at home, and go out for instant dates. I'm not really a fan of instant dates anymore. The magic of them has kind of faded. I remember when I was first learning daytime approach, instant dates felt really magical. They felt like this Hollywood moment where it's like, I can meet a girl 10 minutes later, be on a date with her. I need to try that. And then I did it so many times, I kind of lost its magic. I also think as well, the time of the day matters. So if you are going to go out for instant dates, I wouldn't recommend going out at like 12 in the afternoon because like, you're going to end up bouncing as like a Costa coffee, which is just not seductive. You've got kids in the background screaming. So I think the best time to go out for instant dates is between 5 and 7 p.m. on a Monday or Tuesday. This is just like super tactical. Monday or Tuesday, instant dates. People have not usually got plans on a Monday or a Tuesday. So it's harder, in my experience, to get an instant date on a Saturday because people have usually got plans between 5 and 7. But if you can go out on a Monday between 5 and 7 or on a Tuesday between 5 and 7, in my experience anyway, it's much easier to get instant dates then because people don't usually have plans. And also, during this window of time, you can bounce them to a more seductive location, right? So you can go to like a cocktail bar or a wine bar or an underground speakeasy or like a hotel lobby. You can be like, listen, you look incredible. I just want to whisk you off right now. Like there's like a fucking hotel lobby over the road. Let's go. Let's get pina coladas. Or like, what's your favorite cocktail? Actually, don't tell me right now. Tell me in there. Where? There. Just point over to a fucking Weatherspoons. So that's great as well. That's another way that you can stop girls flaking, and you can just get like instant chemistry there. You need to know how to run an instant date though, because you're gonna be with that girl for a long time. So you need to know how to converse. You need to know how to escalate. How to basically how to do the instant date. But it's still a really good experience anyway. I think a problem with instant dates is like if you don't have the magical experience with the girl on that day, then she's more likely to flake after that date because she's kind of already had the date experience with you. You probably end up like oversharing too much about yourself. So now there's no mystery, there's no intrigue there. And she's like, why would I see this guy again? I already know everything about him. So I think if you are going to do instant dates, and ideally you want to pull the girl back on that date, and it's much easier to do that between 5 and 7 on a Monday or a Tuesday when she doesn't have any plans. That's just my experience. It's better if you actually test it for yourself, because I might know nothing. What else have we got? No, I think that's everything. Yeah, cool. If you enjoyed this, drop it a like. You can get all my free courses below. There's testimonials below. If you want to work with me one-on-one, there's a link below for that as well. All right, cool. Bye.